The ship with a secret the spaceport on Kether Station was always noisy, full of traders, smugglers, and broken dreams. Among them walked Jace Rowan, a human salvager with tired eyes and grease on his jacket. He had only one goal that day: to buy a ship, cheap and fast, nothing fancy, just something that could fly, carry cargo, and stay under the radar. He met the seller near Dock 47, a strange old man with a robotic eye and shaking hands. "This one's old," the man warned, tapping on the ship's rusted hull. "But the engines work, and the ID codes are clean." Jace looked up at the ship, a medium cargo vessel, model KX-9. It was dented and dirty, but he saw something in it. Maybe a chance to leave the station and start over. He handed over the credits without bargaining. After the deal, the old man leaned closer and whispered, "Don't open the back storage bay until you're in space." Then he disappeared into the crowd. Jace blinked, confused, but he shrugged it off. Thinking the old guy was just mad or joking, he climbed aboard and started running diagnostics. The lights flickered, the engines groaned, and the smell of burned wiring filled the air. But it flew. That was enough. As night settled over Kether Station, Jace stayed aboard. Cleaning and checking systems, he found old crates, worn blankets, and strange stains near the cargo hold. Nothing dangerous, or so he thought, around midnight. While sipping recycled water, he heard a sound, a soft click, then a scrape. Coming from behind the walls, he froze. Another sound followed, like breathing, shallow and fast. "Rats," he muttered, reaching for his tool gun. He tapped the wall, then listened. Silence. But when he turned back toward the cockpit, the sound came again, this time from the cargo bay. Jace walked slowly, step louder in the empty ship, the cargo. Door was closed, but there was movement inside. He pressed the button, and the door slid open with a hiss. At first, he saw only shadows. Then, two glowing eyes stared back at him from the dark corner. He took a step back. Raising the tool gun, a small shape stepped forward. A child, alien with pale blue skin, silver markings on her cheeks, and hair like dark smoke. She looked no older than 6, and she was trembling before he could say a word. A second figure appeared, taller, wounded, and protective. A woman, also alien, limping and holding a metal rod like a weapon. "Don't come closer," she hissed. In broken English, "Please, don't hurt my daughter." Jace didn't move. His heart pounded, but he kept the tool gun low. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said, slowly. "I just bought this ship." Didn't know anyone was inside. The woman didn't believe him at first. She stepped in front of the girl, shielding her. Her clothes were torn, her arm bleeding. She was desperate, scared, and ready to fight. "I swear," Jace continued, "I didn't know." He set the tool gun on the floor and raised both hands. "You're safe, all right? I won't tell anyone." The woman studied him for a long moment. Finally, she lowered the rod. "I am Cialani," she said, her voice weak. "My daughter is Nara." Jace nodded slowly. What are you doing here?" Cialani looked away, shame in her eyes. "Hiding," she whispered. "We were cargo sold like property, but we escaped. Before they could deliver us." Jace felt cold. Someone had hidden them in this ship like animals. He looked at the little girl, Nara, now clutching her mother's leg, eyes wide with fear. "How long have you been here?" he asked softly. 5 days, Cialani replied, "eating old food, hiding in vents." Jace rubbed his face, unsure what to do. This was way more than he bargained for. He didn't want trouble with slavers or bounty hunters, but he couldn't throw them out. "Not like this. You can stay for now," he said finally. "I'll figure something out." Cialani's eyes filled with relief. But she stayed tense. "Thank you," she whispered. "But they will come. They always do." Just then, the lights flickered again. A red light blinked on the main console. Incoming signal, a weak ping. Jace moved to the control panel and stared. A hidden tracker had activated. Someone out there now knew this ship was moving again, and they were already watching. Jace turned back toward the cargo bay. The mother and child stared at him, silent, afraid. He took a deep breath. This ship just got a lot more complicated, he muttered. Jace sat in the pilot chair, staring at the blinking red light on the control panel. Tracker signal active. He cursed under his breath, then glanced back at the cargo bay. The alien mother and her daughter sat silently near the wall, their bodies still and alert like prey, expecting the next strike. He walked over slowly, keeping his voice calm. There's a tracker in the ship, he said. That means someone is looking for you. Cialani didn't react at first. Only her eyes moved sharp, calculating, then tired. They never stop, she whispered. They want what's inside her. She placed a protective hand over her daughter's chest. Jace frowned. What do you mean? The little girl, Nara, was staring at him, not scared this time, but curious. Cialani looked at her, then back at him. My people don't breed like humans. She began slowly, her English rough but understandable. Children are rare. Born once every 10 cycles. She paused, then added, but Nara. She was born different. Jace raised an eyebrow. Different how? Cialani hesitated, then reached for a cut on her own arm. Blood welled up, deep purple in color. Nara crawled forward, placed her small hand over it, closed her eyes. A faint glow passed from her fingers to the wound, and within seconds, it vanished. Jace's mouth opened, stunned. She healed you, he whispered. Cialani nodded. But it costs her. It takes energy from her body. She looked at her daughter, sadness in her eyes. Slavers found out, wanted to sell her to the highest bidder. Warlords, corporations, criminals. Her voice cracked. They caged us like animals. But we escaped when they were refueling. Jace sat down against the wall, trying to process everything. He hadn't just bought a ship. He had walked into a war, one with quiet weapons and hunted lives. How did you survive in the ship this long? He asked. Cialani answered. Old food. No lights, no sound. Her hand trembled as she added, Nara cries in her sleep. I had to keep her quiet every time footsteps came. Jace felt something twist inside his chest. He looked at the girl again, her skin pale, her body too thin. But she was watching him, trusting him, like she already knew he wouldn't hurt them. Suddenly, a small voice broke the silence. Are you a good one? Nara asked, tilting her head. Jace blinked. What? A good human, she said softly. Mama says some humans help, he smiled, tired and bitter. Most don't, he replied, but I'm trying. The moment broke when the ship's sensors beeped again. Signal lock detected. Jace ran to the cockpit and saw it, a ship, fast and armed, closing in on their position. We need to move now, he shouted. Cialani stood up quickly, picking up Nara and limping after him. Do you have weapons? She asked. Not enough, Jace muttered, flipping switches and starting the engine. The ship rumbled under his hands, waking from its long sleep. Cialani looked at the screen and paled. That ship. It belongs to the Red Talon Syndicate. Friends of yours? Okay. Jace asked dryly. They kill, not trade, she said, voice sharp, and they have no rules. Jace pulled the control stick, lifting the ship off the landing pad as they rose. Into the sky, the bounty ship's signal locked again. They were being followed. He turned sharply toward the asteroid field nearby. Cialani gasped. You'll get us killed in there. Better rocks than lasers, Jace replied, eyes locked on the field ahead. The ship rocked violently as they entered the debris zone. Chunks of ice and metal floated in slow chaos all around them. One wrong move, and they'd be torn apart. Hold on to something. Jace shouted as he dove under a massive spinning rock. Nara squealed, not from fear, but excitement. Sialani clung to the wall, her injured leg bleeding again. Behind them, the bounty ship followed, slower, but still. On their tail, "Damn," Jace muttered, slamming a button that activated the rear thrusters. The sudden speed boost threw them sideways. Scraping the hull but dodging a collision, Sialani managed to drag herself to the engineering console. "I can help," she said, pulling out a strange alien tool. She opened a panel and began connecting wires with practiced skill. "What are you doing?" Jace asked, surprised, making this old ship remember how to fight. She answered, eyes glowing slightly. Seconds later, a hidden turret popped from the side of the ship. One Jace didn't even know was there. With a loud hum, it locked onto the bounty ship and fired. The blast hit hard, sending the enemy into a spiral. Direct hit. Jace shouted, smiling, but his joy faded as he saw the readout. The ship's fuel was dangerously low. And the Red Talon wasn't done yet. They had escaped for now, but this was just the beginning. And deep inside, Jace knew he wasn't just a pilot anymore. He was part of their fight now, and he wasn't backing out. Jace sat in the pilot's seat, hands tight on the controls. The ship was quiet now, except for the low hum of the damaged engine. Outside the window, asteroids floated like frozen giants in the dark. Behind them, the bounty ship had disappeared. For now, in the corner of the cockpit, Sialani sat with her back against the wall. Holding her wounded leg, her daughter Nara lay beside her, fast asleep. Her small chest rose and fell slowly. Her little hands glowing faintly in the dim light. Jace turned from the controls. Looking at the alien mother, "You said they want what's inside her," he said, voice low. "But who exactly is hunting you? Slavers? Syndicates?" Sialani didn't speak at first. She stared out at the stars, her voice distant. "My people lived in silence for centuries," she said, peaceful, hidden on the moon of Sailorin. Her fingers traced a line across her daughter's hair. "But peace is not profitable. Someone sold our location." Jace leaned forward, listening closely. "Our moon had natural energy, not weapons, not machines, but life force," she continued. "Some called it spirit light." She looked at him, her eyes tired but fierce. "Nara was born with that light inside her. She healed me," Jace said softly, still remembering the warmth in her touch. "Yes," Sialani nodded. "But healing is only a small part. If pushed too far, her body releases it all at once." Jace blinked. "You mean like a weapon?" "No," she said. "Worse, like a storm." Before Jace could respond, the console blinked. A signal. Faint but sharp tracking ping detected. Jace swore and slammed his hand on the dashboard. "They found us again." "No," Sialani said quickly, moving closer. "This is not a slaver ping." She typed something into the console with expert fingers. Her alien code flowed through the screen, revealing an encrypted signal. "This is military," she whispered, her face pale. "Galactic Hunter Code. Class 7, bounty level. Extreme." Jace frowned. "I've heard of those hunters that don't work for money. They work for silence." Sialani nodded. "They were sent to erase me. And if they know Nara is still alive." She didn't finish her sentence. She didn't need to. Jace stood up, pacing the cockpit. "Do we run? Fight? Hide?" "There is one place," Sialani said. "A dead zone. In Sector 9, no signals. No scanners. A planet abandoned after war." She looked at him, hopeful. "If we reach it, we can disappear." Jace sighed. Looking at the fuel gauge almost empty. "We don't have enough power to make it." Suddenly, a voice broke through. The ship's radio. It was cold, deep, and mechanical. "Unidentified ship," it said. "Power down and prepare for boarding. You are harboring stolen assets." Jace's face went stiff. He looked at Sialani, who was already pulling Nara into her arms. She's no asset, he growled. She's a child. No more running, Jace muttered. He opened the weapons panel and armed the only two. Defense turrets left. We'll make a stand. Sialani stepped forward. I can help. But not with weapons. She pulled a small silver disc from her bag and placed it in Jace's hand. What's this? He asked. Pulse scrambler. She said, short range. But it can blind their sensors for 30 seconds. He nodded, thinking fast, enough time to slip behind them. He said, eyes lighting up with a plan. The hunter ship appeared on the radar, sleek, black, and silent. Its shape was like a blade, and it moved like a ghost. Jace set the scrambler into the launcher slot. Hold tight, he said. We only get one shot. The enemy ship drew closer. Weapons locked. Nara stirred. In Sialani's arms, sensing danger, Jace pressed the button, launching the scrambler into space. A pulse wave exploded silently. Their screens went black for a moment. Jace threw the ship into full thrust. Diving below the hunter's ship, he passed under it like a shadow, silent and fast. Turrets fired. Above them, too slow, they missed. The ship shook, lights flickering again. But they cleared the zone. The hunter lost visual for now. Sialani looked at him with something close to awe. You're not just a pilot, she said. Jace smirked. I'm a guy who hates being chased. They moved into dark space. No signals, no light, just silence. But they had bought time, a few hours maybe. In that quiet, Nara opened her eyes. She looked at Jace and whispered, I saw your heart. Jace turned, surprised. What did you see? She smiled softly. It was scared, but kind. He didn't reply. He didn't need to, because in that moment, he realized something terrifying and beautiful. He wasn't just fighting to escape now. He was fighting to protect them. And he'd burn the stars if he had to. Asterisk darkness stretched in every direction. Jace's ship floated in deep space, hidden within a dense gas cloud that shimmered like fog under starlight. It was silent, no signals, no movement, no hunters. But inside the ship, pressure was building. Engines were damaged, fuel was almost gone, and the air recycler was running. Slow, Jace wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the controls. The silence was not peace. It was the pause before the next storm. Behind him, in the crew quarters, Sialani sat on the floor beside her daughter. She was cleaning a long, deep cut on her leg, barely flinching from the pain. The little girl, Nara, sat quietly, holding a worn blanket, her big eyes watching. Her mother, you should rest, Jace said. Walking in, Sialani didn't look up. No time to rest, she replied, her voice flat. Not when death follows us like a shadow. Jace crouched beside her. Reaching for the medkit, here, he said gently. Use this, it's human-made. But stronger than that cloth, Sialani accepted it silently. She was proud, but tired. She wrapped the bandage with careful hands, then looked at her. Child, she hasn't eaten much, she whispered. She's growing weak. Jace sighed. We're almost out of food too. But I have a plan. He stood and tapped the wall screen, showing a nearby system, Varnic 7, a mining planet long abandoned. Old Earth records say it still has oxygen, underground shelters, and solar panels. Sialani studied the screen. Risky, she said. If someone's using it now, we'd be landing right into their hands. Better than dying slowly here, Jay said. And it's close. We can reach it with what's left in the tank. Just then, Nara spoke. Softly, storm coming, both adults turned toward her. What do you mean? Jace asked, confused. She pointed to the window a few seconds later. The ship's warning lights flashed red, incoming electromagnetic storm to 3 minutes until contact. Jace rushed to the cockpit, Sialani following behind, limping. How? Did she know that? He asked, breathless. She feels energy, Sialani replied. Storms, people, pain. She feels it before machines can. Jace stared at the girl again. A strange chill passed through him. But not from fear, from wonder. The storm hit before he could prepare fully. Waves of electric charge slammed into the ship, shaking it like a leaf in a hurricane. Lights flickered. Systems failed, and warning sirens screamed in every room. Cialani held Nara tightly as sparks flew from the ceiling. Jace fought the controls with both hands, steering the ship downward toward the surface of Varnic 7. Brace for impact. He shouted. The ship crashed through the planet's thin atmosphere. Fire lit the edges of the hull. Metal groaned, and the sky outside turned red and gold. Jace barely managed to steer it toward an old landing pad, half buried in ash and rock. They hit hard, the impact throwing everything forward. Alarms went silent, and the ship powered down. Then, quiet. Only the sound of wind howling outside. Jace opened his eyes and coughed. His shoulder was bleeding, but nothing was broken. He turned and saw Cialani groaning, her arms still wrapped around her daughter. "Nara?" he called, panic rising. The little girl didn't move. She was glowing faintly. Like moonlight under her skin, Jace rushed over, dropping to his knees. "She's burning up," he said, feeling her forehead ice cold, yet shining like fire. Inside, she used her power, Cialani whispered, eyes wide with fear. She protected the ship. Jace looked around. There were dents and cracks, but no hull breach. If she hadn't used her gift, they'd all be dead. But why is she like this now? He asked, voice shaking. She gave too much, Cialani said, her voice breaking, her energy. It's not endless. It drains her. Life. Jace lifted the girl gently, carrying her to the medical pod. She opened her eyes. Barely. Did we make it? She asked weakly. You saved us, Jace replied, forcing a smile. You were amazing. Her lips curled into a tired smile, then closed again. Jace placed her in the pod, connected basic support systems, and prayed it would be enough. Outside, the storm passed, and silence returned. But inside Jace's heart, something changed. She wasn't just an alien child anymore. She was a life he would now die to protect. As he looked at the sleeping child and the broken mother, beside her, he knew the storm was only the beginning. The real danger was coming, and he had to face it, not for himself, but for them. Varnic 7 was quiet, cold, and full of ruins, once a mining colony. Now nothing more than broken machines and dust-covered metal bones. Jace stepped out of the ship, scanning the horizon with a blaster in hand. Cialani stayed inside with Nara, who was still unconscious but stable in the med. They had landed safely, but fuel was gone. Power was low, and time was running out. If help didn't come soon, they'd be trapped here forever. But help in Jace's world came with a price. And he knew exactly who could offer it. He opened the COMM link and sent out a private signal on an old frequency, one used only by criminals, smugglers, and scavengers. It read, "Need fuel, clean IDs, and off-world escape will trade live data package. Urgent." Not long after, a reply came, a voice Jace hadn't heard in years. Deep and smooth like oil. "Didn't expect to hear from you again, Rowan. Meet me at Outpost 12, Jace sighed, knowing he had just opened a door that might never close. He turned to Cialani. "I'm going to meet someone," he said, "a fixer named Rek. He can get us out of here." Cialani looked unsure. "Can he be trusted?" Jace gave a dry smile. "No, but he's fast, and he's smart, and he likes money more than blood." She looked down at Nara, who was glowing faintly in her sleep. "Be careful, if he sees what she is." "He won't," Jace said firmly. "I'll make sure of it." Outpost 12 was a half-buried bunker with flickering red lights and rusted gates. Inside, the air smelled of smoke and metal, and sitting at the center of it all was Rek, part human, part cybernetic. "All danger," he smiled when Jace entered. leaning back in his chair, still flying rust buckets and collecting strays. He teased. Jace ignored the jab. I need fuel, forged IDs, and safe passage today. Rex's mechanical fingers tapped the table. That's a tall order, he said. What are you offering in return? Jace placed a small data drive. On the table, encrypted galactic research files stolen from the labs on Sailorin. Rex's eyes gleamed. Rare stuff. You always did know how to get interesting cargo. Jace leaned closer, voice low and firm. This is a one-time deal. No copies, no leaks. You get the files, I get safety. Rex picked up the drive and scanned it quickly. His face darkened slightly as he read. Then he smiled again, but it was thinner this time. Bioenergy. Unstable tissue. Genetic healing potential. He muttered, pretending not to care. You wouldn't happen to have the living source of this data, would you? Jace didn't blink. You know me, Rex. I deal in files, not people. Rex nodded, pretending to believe. Fine, he said at last. Give me 2 hours. I'll prep the ship and the IDs. But as Jace left the bunker, Rex tapped his wristpad and whispered to someone else. I want that ship scanned. Deep scan. There's something alive on it, something worth a fortune. Back at the ship, Siolani felt something, a shiver, a pressure like a hand reaching through air. She stood up and stared through the dusty window. We're being watched, she said softly. Ch. Jace arrived minutes later, panting. We need to move. I think Rex knows more than he said. Siolani narrowed her eyes. He'll come for her. You feel it too. Jace nodded, checking the med pod. Nara was still weak, but her eyes opened slowly. Someone. Bad? She whispered. Outside, suddenly. A beeping noise echoed through the ship, a security breach alarm. Jace ran to the screen. Rex thugs. They're already inside the outer hatch. He slammed the lockdown switch. Sealing the doors, we fight, he said, gripping. His blaster, or we run? Siolani asked, stepping beside him. Jace looked at Nara. Then at the limited power left in the ship. They couldn't win a direct fight. Not with Nara like this. He gritted his teeth, made a decision, and activated the emergency escape protocol. Siolani S. Eyes widened. You're going to overload the fuel cells. Only enough to make it look unstable, Jace said. If they think the ship will blow, they'll back off. Smoke filled the vents, alarms blared, and the lights flickered violently. Rex's men paused, reading the false signals. One of them yelled, fall back. The ship's gonna explode. They retreated, panicked, inside. Jace opened the secret floor panel and dragged out an old hover sled. Help me load Nara, he said. We're going through the tunnels. Siolani nodded, and together they vanished into the dark underground, leaving behind a ship that now pulsed with fake danger and a criminal who had just lost the prize of a lifetime. But Rex wasn't done as he watched the ship from afar. He smiled darkly. You can run, Rowan, he whispered. But I always collect what's mine. The underground tunnels of Varnak 7 were cold, dark, and full of forgotten machines. Old mining lights blinked weakly along the metal walls, and strange whispers echoed through the broken vents. Jace pushed the hover sled forward, his muscles burning. On it lay little Nara, still pale, still weak, her glow barely visible now. Beside him, Siolani limped but kept pace, holding her sharp metal rod tightly. Every few steps, she looked behind them. Rex won't stop, she said, breathing hard. He will follow, or send someone worse. Jace nodded, jaw clenched. They had no weapon strong enough, no backup, and no safe place left to run. But he wasn't going to give up. Not while that little girl was still breathing. They found an old control room, dusty and abandoned. But still sealed. Jace scanned the panels. The system was offline. But the structure around them was strong, reinforced, maybe even shielded, We can hide here." He said, "Not forever," Sialani replied, "but long enough for her to rest." Jace checked Nara's vitals again. Slow but stable, he brushed a hand across her forehead. "You're going to be okay, little star," he whispered. "You have to be." Just then, a low vibration passed through the floor. Jace froze, eyes wide. "Did you feel that?" Sialani nodded. "They're coming." Jace ran to the tunnel entrance, placed an old explosive charge from his belt, and backed away if they stepped through. "Boom," he said, wiping sweat from his face. Moments later, a light flashed down the tunnel, footsteps, shadows, and then drones, not just Rex men, but clean black. Silent hunter drones, galactic military class. "They found us," Sialani whispered, voice shaking. "Not just bounty hunters now. Government." The drones scanned the tunnel, moving silently. Over the floor like spiders, Jace waited until the first one crossed the line, then hit the switch. Boom. Fire filled the tunnel, collapsing it behind the drone line. Metal flew, sparks rained down, and the walls shook. A few drones were destroyed, but not all. One crawled forward, broken but alive, its laser scanning the room. It saw Sialani, locked onto her, and charged before she could react. Soft light flared behind her. Nara sat up slowly, her eyes glowing bright blue. She raised her hand, fingers trembling. A pulse of pure energy burst from her palm. It hit the drone mid-air, frying it instantly and smashing it against the wall. Then she collapsed again. Exhausted, Sialani caught her just in time. "You shouldn't have moved," she said, tears in her voice. Nara smiled weakly. "I wanted to protect you." Jace stared, stunned. "She's stronger than we thought," he said. Sialani nodded, "But her body can't keep up. Each time she uses her gift, it shortens her life." More noise came from the tunnel, more drones. Heavier ones now. Jace knew they wouldn't win in a fight, so he made a decision. "We're done running," he said, turning to the control panel. "What are you doing?" Sialani asked. "This place used to run the planet's defense grid," he explained. "If I can power it up, we can trap them inside. But we'll be trapped too," she said. "Better trapped than hunted," Jace replied, fingers flying across the panel. He rerouted emergency power, triggered ancient systems, and bypassed 3 levels of locked code. Then the lights turned red, old alarms rang, and a robotic voice echoed. "System activation, defense protocol last line." Outside, heavy doors slammed shut across the tunnels, sealing off the invaders. Auto turrets dropped from the ceiling and opened fire. Screams and metal crashes echoed as chaos erupted behind the walls. Jace turned and pulled Nara into his arms. "We'll stay here until they give up." "But what if they don't?" Sialani asked, sitting beside them. Jace looked down at the child in his arms. "Then we keep fighting," he said softly, "because she's worth every second, for the first time since it began." Sialani leaned against him, tired, but calm. Outside the bunker, the storm of enemies raged. But inside, a strange peace settled over the small group. They were broken, tired, and surrounded. But they were together, and that made them stronger than any army. The bunker was dark and silent now. Jace sat on the cold metal floor, Nara's head resting on his lap. Her breathing was soft, and her glow had faded into a calm warmth. Beside him, Sialani leaned against the wall, eyes closed but awake, both of them listening, not for danger, but for peace. Hours had passed since the last blast shook the tunnels. The drones had stopped. The alarms had gone quiet. For the first time in days, there was no sound of footsteps chasing them. Jace whispered, "Do you think it's over?" Sialani opened her eyes. "No," she said, "but they've pulled back." For now, Jace nodded slowly. He looked down at Nara, brushing her hair gently out of her face. "She's strong," he said. She saved all of us, Cialani. Smiled faintly. Yes, but only because you gave her time to rest. You protected her. More than anyone ever has. Jace shook his head. I didn't plan any of this, he admitted. I just wanted a ship, a job, a way to keep moving. He looked around the bunker, but somehow, I found a reason to stop. Cialani turned to face him, her voice softer now. You found something more. You found someone to fight for. Looked at her, really looked. The sharp fear in her eyes was gone, replaced by something deeper, something like trust, maybe even hope. Nara stirred and opened her eyes. Are we safe now? She asked in a sleepy voice. Jace smiled. We're together, he said. That's all that matters. She nodded, then wrapped her small arms around him. Thank you, Daddy, she whispered. Jace froze, heart skipping a beat. He looked at Cialani, who blinked, surprised, but not angry. She's never called anyone that before, she said softly. Jace felt a lump in his throat. He'd never had a family, never thought he deserved one, but now, this little girl, this glowing alien child had chosen him. He hugged her back gently. You're welcome, Starshine, he whispered. And I promise, I'll never leave you outside the bunker. A long-range signal beacon sparked to life. Jace had quietly activated it earlier. A final gamble, a message not for hunters, but for allies. And now, someone was answering. The screen blinked, showing an old human face, weathered, kind, and familiar. Jace Rowan, the voice crackled. You're alive. Yeah, Jace replied, tired but smiling. I've got 2 guests, a mother and her daughter. We need pickup, low profile. The man on the screen paused. That's a heavy request, he said. You in trouble? Jace looked at Nara, who had fallen asleep again in his arms. He smiled gently. Big trouble, he replied. But worth it, the man nodded. Coordinates received. We'll be there in 12 hours. Stay hidden till then. Jace closed the call and turned to Cialani. Help is coming, he said. She let out a breath she'd been holding for days. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't hide them this time. You didn't have to do this, she whispered. You could have walked away so many times. I know, Jace said, but I didn't want to. You and Nara. You gave me something I didn't even know I needed. Cialani reached out and placed her hand over his, not as a refugee, not as a mother, but as someone who finally felt safe when the ship arrived hours later, hidden beneath stealth systems and silent thrusters. Jace carried Nara in his arms while Cialani walked beside him. Limping but proud, they climbed aboard, leaving behind the broken tunnels, the failed hunters, and the old ghosts. The pilot looked back, surprised. You two are the package. Jace smiled. No, he said. We're the family. As the ship rose into the stars, Nara opened her eyes once more and whispered, Where are we going now? Jace looked out the window, stars reflecting in his eyes. Someplace safe, he said. Someplace we make our own. And with that, the ship vanished into the sky, not just carrying passengers, but carrying something far rarer. A second chance, a new beginning, and a family finally found.